Hi friends, welcome to Anna with Plants. My name is Anastasia. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. In today's video, I have a huge Hoya haul to share with you. And this Hoya haul originated as 3 Hoyas and then quickly grew into, I don't even know how many Hoyas I bought. I'm guessing it's gonna be over 40 Hoyas. There is just so much to get into. I also, FYI, this is the second time I'm filming this video today. The first video had really bad audio to the point where I couldn't even fix it in post edit. So we are here again a second time to film it with my old microphone. I feel like this is just a thing that happens to me in life where it's like anytime I try to upgrade in my life, that upgrade will cause me more pain than just keeping everything the same. So we're back to the original microphone, to the original camera, because that's just what's been working. And you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's just talk about our toxic traits for a second, and I would love to hear if you have any toxic traits of yourself, because one of my personal ones for this hobby is that anytime I purge plants, anytime I make room on my shelves, I immediately have this overwhelming urge and desire to buy plants to fill that space. And that is why we have this haul here, because I purged Hoya and I made room, and then my brain's like, yep, you need more Hoya. So I'm bringing you today a lot of Hoya to share. I hope you enjoy. Let's start off with 2 out of the 3 that started all of it. Here it is. The first plant I have to show you is a variegated mathilde, and oh, is she cute. She is adorable. Look at how cute she is. So I got these 2 leaves. This leaf was coming out in translit and it kind of got halted a bit in growth. It kind of stopped growing at that point, but I don't know if you can see the cute little green dots on that one. I just think it's so darling. And it also started growing these 2 new leaves at the top, and as you can see, they're variegated, so that is super great. One tip, because I have heard that these can be somewhat unstable sometimes, so one tip I have for y'all is to buy a top cut, because a top cut is going to continue the growth of the original leaves with a much higher chance, as opposed to a mid-cut, say. So that's why I decided to buy the top cut of this. And this used to be very expensive, and I mean, it is still kind of expensive, I will say. However, much more affordable than they used to be. And something about really small, round, cute leaves that are variegated just get me in the feels every single time. So that's why I added this one to my collection, and I have no regrets. The second plant that kind of sparked this madness is the variegated splashy obovata, and I got this plant specifically for its great genetics. As you can see, the splash really comes through, and it still does have some of that variegation. So it is a very beautiful example of this plant. This is also the top cut. It did come in with some wonky leaves, like this leaf is wonky, that leaf is wonky, and so is this bottom leaf here. And I suspect it's got to be due to pests, because if you turn the leaf over, there's some scratching on the backside, and whenever you kind of see that gray scratching, that's usually an indicator of flat mites. So I have been treating this Hoya for flat mites while it's been rooting out, and it has been doing really well. It also is a really thirsty Hoya. I know you can't really see too much into the vial because of all the algae, but I just topped this up yesterday and the water level is already down here, so it is a thirsty Hoya. It hasn't grown any new leaves for me yet, so time will tell to see if it will carry on the genetics that I bought it for. But when I saw this, I'm like, you don't see these that good really ever, so that's why I knew I had to get my hands on it. She is just a stunning example of what this plant can be. Now, in no particular order, I have a Hoya elliptica splash to show you. This is my first elliptica that I've ever bought. I don't know why I haven't bought any. I think the foliage just didn't really strike my fancy, but when I saw this extra splashy version, I really couldn't help myself, so I ended up getting it. The seller that I got this one from, I remember, is on Etsy, Cactus and Exotics. Any of the shops that I bought from, I'll go ahead and link down below. I had positive experiences all around with all of them. Going back to the elliptica, one of the things that I love about this though are the flowers. They look like teeth, like tiny little molars. I know some people think that's kind of gross, but I don't know. I think that's kind of cute and unique about it. Can't wait to grow this one out and see if the splash will continue. And this is a really nice plant. Got it potted in some of like a cocoa husk kind of mixture. This is my cutie elliptica splash. The next two I have to show you comes from the same order. This one looks a lot like the GPS, what is it called? GPS 4720 or something like that, but it is not. It is called LV9, I believe, and it is a cute little hoya with those round elongated leaves, and they can get sun stressed as well. This one has some new leaves growing down at the bottom, and right here it is a little bit fuzzy, which is really fun, and it does have a little bit of splash. It's currently rooted in fluval, so I'm gonna keep it here for a bit, and I just think it's just such a darling little hoya. This one did fall over though when I was getting it, because it's not one of my videos if I don't knock over one of my plants in the process. This guy is just such a little cutie pie. I'm so glad to have it. Along those lines, I also have this one, which also kind of is splashy, kind of fuzzy, but this one is called the EPC. I want to say it's the sabah dragonfly, and you can really see why it's called that because these leaves are elongated but taper at the corners, which look a lot like dragonfly wings. This one can also get beautifully red and maroony colored. I also really like how they use like this plastic rod here and then they just looped the vine around. I kind of haven't seen that before, so I think I might adopt that into the tinier plants that are growing. It is just such a cute plant. I love the leaf shape. I love the feel of it. These two plants I believe I got from a seller on Etsy called My Plant CM, and I remember she has really fantastic packaging. The next plant up I got on the US Hoya Market. It's a group on Facebook, and I got the Hoya Yuna. I really love that name. Oh, it's upside down. Oh, we're doing this again. Hoya Yuna. It reminds me of, I believe there's a character in Final Fantasy, I want to say, that's called Yuna, because I was really into that when I was in high school. So I don't know, that name feels a bit nostalgic to me in a way, but this is the plant, and I mainly got it because I saw this photo that I can't find again, and I did try to find this photo of this plant when it got sun stressed. But it was so beautiful. It was like a really deep red color and it just looked stunning. So I wanted to get it just for that. It has grown 2 leaves in my care. So there's this baby leaf and this baby leaf that is coming out, and it's rooted in a soil mixture. I'm just gonna keep it in here for the meantime since it's happy and growing. But yeah, this is a Hoya Yuna. The next Hoya I have to show is called the Nap 16, and it is a memoria crossed with a rosita. It is so cute. Look at the splashes. It has like a really nice texture. It feels like suede to me, not quite fuzzy, but more of like a suede texture. And the sun stress is also very beautiful from the rosita. You can see the edges right there are beautifully sun stressed. And then there's a new leaf up here that is also quite pretty too. I was curious to see why this was called Nap 16, and I believe where this Hoya came from, which I believe is Thailand. I might be wrong on that again, but that's just how the person chooses to name all of the Hoyas. That's kind of how they chose to keep track of it. This is a memoria crossed with rosita, and from another seller I got a memoria crossed with the IR26. This texture is a lot different than this texture right here. As you can see, this one is more of a satin, and this is more smooth and shiny. And this tendril is new, and these two leaves are new, and you got two little baby leaves coming into this one. So yeah, these are two memoria hybrids that I didn't even know existed. This next one is super duper exciting. I've been keeping my eye on it because I saw a mature plant of this, and it was just the most unique color I've ever seen a Hoya, and it's called the Black Magic. And this Hoya does get pretty much black, or as close to black as a Hoya can get. It is ultra spooky. It kind of puts me in like a fall Halloween vibe. I don't know why. Whenever I see this Hoya, it just gives me fall energy, and I don't know about you guys, but hands down, fall is my favorite season. But back to this plant, no new growth points yet. I just have these two initial leaves, and I think the seller uses some kind of leaf shine, because that is like ultra sheeny, is it not? I feel like she polishes it. I'm not mad at it. I got this off of that group on Facebook. I can't wait for it to grow out, and I have a beautifully spooky plant. One thing that I want to add is the seller very kindly threw in a gift. I apologize that I don't know too much about this plant. It is called Hoya Promise. I want to say it's an SMS, one of those hybrids by Susan. Perhaps, I don't know. There's not really too much out there on this Hoya, so if you know anything about the Hoya Promise, I am all ears to learn about it. It's very cute though. And it is growing a new set of new leaf right there in the middle. This is a jumble of a lot of props in water. In no particular order, I'm just gonna start pulling these out. The first one is a freebie that I got in one of my orders. This is the Hoya Irina, which I already have in my collection, but this one looks quite different, and it also has an active peduncle. Always nice when they throw that in. The next one I have is an aceh. I have 4 different acehs to show you because I just love them. I think they are just so beautiful. This specific aceh is called David Neal, and it has that beautiful veination, has a little bit of splashing, and then the back has this dark purple line down the middle of it. That is just so stunning, so beautiful. It is working on 2 growth points. There's one on the side and one in the middle on that leaf there. This one's the David Neal. I got this one on Etsy. The next is a Hoya latifolia. I think this one's called polystachya. I'm not the best at pronouncing Hoyas. Like a typical latifolia, it's got those lovely lines going down from the inner part of the leaf all the way to the tip. So you have this really great texture going on. This one is a very smooth Hoya, but the thing that got me are those edges. Can you see that dark edge all around the leaf? And you can also see it pretty well on the back here. It is super beautiful. You can also see that texture coming through the back. Really, really unique Hoya latifolia in my opinion, and I haven't heard it before, so I grabbed this one up. I don't know if y'all will remember, but this was maybe like one of the first top 10 Hoya videos that I made. I featured my pandurata. I said that I really would love the silver one. It was just a little bit too expensive for me. I think at that time it was like $100, and spending over $100 for a Hoya like is a little bit on my cap. I would like really have to love it in order to spend that kind of money. So I waited, and now these panduratas I think are around $35, and that's how much I got mine for. So I got a cutting of the pandurata silver. She is a beauty. I cannot wait to grow this one out. I love the growth pattern of the panduratas and just how they like cascade down. I think it'll be so gorgeous and beautiful. So I'm very glad that I decided to wait for this one because I think that price is a lot more digestible. This next Hoya is another silvery one. This is a Louisa silver. This one I got free. I totally forgot which order I got this one from, but it is a free little cutting, and it is growing the chonkiest little water root right there. It's so cute, rooting away. Next up is the silver multiflora called the wonderphil. I didn't even know there was a silver multiflora until I saw it on the Facebook groups. This one I bought on Etsy. It was a little dicey in the beginning because it was starting to yellow, like this leaf was starting to yellow in the middle especially, but it has since grown water roots and the yellowing has stopped. Also very excitingly, there's 2 growth points, and one of the growth growth points has actually started to grow a little bit more. I'll have some new leaves coming, and yeah, I don't have any other multifloras, so I'm excited to have this one in my collection because I heard that they bloom quite quickly. I don't know if that's the case for this one, but we shall see. There was one Hoya that fell over in that container and I didn't know which one it was, but it was this one. This is a Hoya walliniana variegated. It is very, very, very pretty. Mine has 2 growth points coming out right here and right here on the side. This one originally came to me in some fluval, and the fluval was really dry, and so I watered it, and I noticed the next day the leaves were very soft, and that is never a good sign. So I kind of panicked, got it out of there, and decided to prop it by water. It has grown some more roots since then, and it's really a lot more firm, so that's really great. I heard this one is a little tricky. I know this one will probably require a little bit more TLC, so I will be watching this one very carefully, and I'm gonna wait for it to root up just a little bit more before I pot it up, I think. Okay, back to the water props at hand, just pulling out one randomly. This is a Hoya bahoi. Again, this is a Hoya that I have not heard of before, and it is beautiful. Do you see that splashing? Gorgeous. Really love that texture of the leaves as well. This seller sells the props in some water and fluval, which I find very interesting, and all of the props are very well rooted. So I don't know, maybe I should give that a go at some point. I cannot wait to grow it out. One Hoya in here that is from that same seller, and I know that because it has that same fluval in the vial. This is the Hoya sulawesiana. And at first, I only got it for the blooms because the blooms on this one are fantastic. They are so beautiful. I'll go ahead and pop up a picture of what they look like. They are freaking gorgeous. But when I got this leaf, I was shocked at how unique it was. This is like one of the more unique Hoyas I have because if you can see that texture, and there is a little bit of splash. It's a very dark green, very firm Hoya, and mine has a little growth point growing right there. It's also quite a sizable leaf. I thought the leaves would be a lot smaller, and they're not. They are literally comparable to my hand. Okay, the next one I have to show you is a Hoya I got for free in one of my purchases. This is the Asami Clone 2. I've had a couple of these over the years. They never really seem to do anything for me. This one has rooted up, thank God. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very neutral about these. Hopefully this one will be a better grower because I just, in my opinion, can't seem to grow them very well. Another cutie little prop makes me very, very nervous because I know Hoya bellas are very hard to prop. This is a Hoya bella sandwich, which is just a mutation off of the Lita Bui, I think is the name, and it's just called a sandwich because that green is on the outer perimeter and also in the middle as well. I was really crossing my fingers that the seller would at least give me 2 nodes, but I only got 1, and it is a pretty short stem too. So this one makes me a little nervous. I hope it will root up. I don't know, time will tell. The next one I have here is not much to show you. This is a Wilbur Graves Silver. I also like the backs of these. I think they're pretty cool. This one had no roots when it arrived, so I'm glad that it's decided to root up. No new growth yet. This one I just got specifically because I needed 3 Hoya to get an extra 35% off my order on this store on Etsy. So I just decided to throw this one in and just to see what it would do, because it is full silver, but that doesn't really mean that the new growth will be that same because Wilbur Graves are just notoriously unstable. I'm kind of curious to see what the growth will be like when it does start to grow. These next 3 Hoyas, I'm so excited to show you guys because they're all in the same order. I got it off of a purge on the US Hoya market, and oh my god, I got such a steal for one of these. I'm gonna show you it first. I'm usually never the fastest when it comes to purges. I don't know what kind of internet some of these people have, but when it's like a in-demand purge, like people claim like that, like before I even have the chance to type in anything. Let me know what internet you guys have because mine obviously does not compete. This is the Hoya Argentea Princess. Such a stunning plant. The silver is very unique to this one, and I really love the color of the leaves on the inside. It's like a pale cream yellowy color. It's really, really nice. This one is, however, notorious for reverting. That's why we have the Nova Ghost. That is what this one becomes called when it completely reverts. And I got this one for $25. I cannot believe that, because these used to be so expensive back in the day, and so for the fact of like anybody getting this for $25 is a little bit unheard of to me. I cannot believe I got this one for that price. So even if it does revert, I am not mad about it. I will not be mad about it at all, because I got it for a really, really good price. So I am willing to take the gamble when it comes to this one. One, however, that I am not willing to take a gamble for, and I will be very, very sad if it reverts, is one of the newer Hoyas. I believe this Hoya was originally founded by Kunzo, is really big in the Monstera world, but he also does collect Hoya as well. And this one is called the Madara Green Edge. It is just so pretty. Like, no one can deny like how freaking pretty and unique this Hoya is. It is a pricey mofo. I think cuttings are going for $200 to $300 right now, and not even this pretty. I've seen ones that are like almost reverted going for like $200. So I would not buy those for sure. The picture of the mom plant though was very beautiful, very consistent. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for this one. Also, I really hope that it does root, because it's been like a week and it hasn't really shown any signs of rooting yet, but it hasn't shown any signs of rotting either. So we will keep an eye out for this one. But I just thought this was too good to pass up. And originally I didn't even claim this one. Somebody else claimed it on the purge, and later on she changed her mind and passed because she didn't feel comfortable to root it out. And so I saw that and I'm like, hey, can I just add this one to the order? And I was able to do so. This was a total fluke that I even got this Hoya in the first place. I'm really hoping that's a good sign for me though, and that it was meant to be, because I think if this Hoya continues to grow leaves like this, I'm done. Like, I don't need any more Hoyas after this one. Like, I love how pink that stem is too. Fingers crossed this one does not revert on me. The last part of that order, and this is by far my most favorite new Hoya that I bought in this order, and I just can't stop staring at it. It's actually not even the one that I thought I would like the most. I just really liked this Hoya initially because it was very unique. This is the Hoya mitrata silver. It also used to be called the Boontalk silver. Yeah, and this is what this Hoya looks like. She is stunning, so beautiful. I really hope this is coming across how pretty it is in person, because in photos, it never did it justice. They do not look as good in photos. It's just like the prettiest silvery camouflage, splashy goodness. This one has a new leaf coming in, but it doesn't stop there. When you turn this Hoya around, it has the prettiest backsides. Look at the dark purple pattern on there. The speckling is just so stunning. Such a beautiful, underrated Hoya. Like, I know these are expensive at the moment, but nobody talks about how stunning they are. I feel like this is actually one of the Hoyas where I do understand the price, because it is just so unique. The leaves are definitely more on the thin side. I don't, again, know anything about the growth of it yet. I'm keeping it in some water for the time being. So far, it's been doing okay. It's been continuing to root. Yeah, this one is hands down my favorite. Nothing like this compares in my collection in any of the Hoyas that I've seen. I am so happy that I placed this entire order. It was just like 10 out of 10 for me. Speechless at how pretty this one is. Okay, we are moving right along. We're gonna be moving into the Hoyas that I was able to repot. I repotted all of these, I believe, like a week ago. So we are gonna just start with this beauty right here. This is a Hoya vangviengiensis. I'm gonna go ahead and pop up the name. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, so sorry. Look at that texture. The front has these wells in it. and then the back is pubescent. It is so stunning, very dark green. I got it as a cutting, and the cutting was actually very well rooted, so I went ahead and potted it up. It's doing really well so far. Next up, I have a thin-leafed Hoya. This is the campanulata splash. It used to be called something else before. The flowers of these are bell-shaped, and I believe that's what the new name means. Very beautiful, splashy Hoya. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen these. These have been around for quite some time. I have one of these in my collection finally. It was also a very good deal. I think I got it for like $30 or something. The next Hoya I have to show you is a silvery one. This is the verticillata heart leaf. This one is more on the silver side, but I know some of them can have these like darker green blotches in it. It has started to push out a new growth point. Hopefully you can see that. It also has some new roots, very excitingly. So these are some new roots that it grew. Yeah, it's doing really, really well, not putting up any kinds of complaints for being repotted. The full plants of this look so beautiful and stunning on a trellis. There is also one that looks a lot like this one. I believe it's the latifolia silver. Those ones are currently going for like mid to high 300s. Definitely been priced out of buying one of those. I wouldn't say affordable, but it's not as pricey as it was. So if you like the look of the latifolia one, I would try this one. If you guys happen to see my Mealy garage purge out video, then you would have known I finally threw away my Wilbur Graves. I can't even call it silver because it really did revert, but it was just not having a good time. So I finally decided to part with it, and I found this one on a purge. It was like a deal or no deal, and I got it. And this is the Wilbur Graves. The tag says Thailand, but I don't know if I've heard a Thailand clone of this. Regardless, it is stunningly silver. It is one of the more gorgeous ones out there because every leaf it has is so perfectly splashy, and this is a problem I have with this Hoya, is it keeps giving me green growth. It is not a very stable one in my opinion, but I love it nevertheless. I'm gonna try it again. This is probably gonna be my last try. If it gives me green leaves, then I just know it won't be meant to be for us, because come on, like, how can this one revert? I don't know. Let's keep our fingers crossed. I also love the backs of this, is very, very beautiful as well. Overall, such a pretty Hoya. It did shock a little bit being repotted, so hopefully it'll bounce back. So glad to have this one in my collection. The next two are going to be under the species aceh. This variety is called the, oh boy, here we go, gayo lues. I am so sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. Look at this one. Holy moly. This one is my favorite aceh that I got because you can see that texture. I love the veins. I love the splash, but it's really when you change the light and you can see that texture going down the leaf, that is where it's at. It is such a damn pretty Hoya. And of course it has that purple line down the back of it. Really, really stunning variety of the aceh. It also has started to root. So this is a new root right here. There's new roots right here. Really taken quite well to the repot. Cannot wait to grow some new leaves of this one. The next aceh, I don't really know what the variety of it is. All I saw the seller call it was an aceh, but I really liked the veination of this one. I thought the veins were very different in that they kind of go in a heart pattern. Do you kind of see the hearts going down the middle? I just think that's super cute, and I don't really have anything like it in my collection. I know if any of you have seen my Hoya collection with the veiny Hoya, then you're gonna be all like, wait, it looks exactly the same as all of the others. No, it doesn't. It is slightly different, and that is what I'm gonna stick with. I don't know if this is an aceh though, if I'm being completely honest, because you know how I said all of them kind of have that purple line down the middle in the back? This one doesn't have it, so I don't know if that's like a characteristic of the aceh that it needs to have it. I mean, regardless, I got it for the leaf, and I think that's what you really need to take into account is if it's not coming from like a well-known Hoya person, it's just a person off of Etsy or eBay or anything like that with names and IDs. You kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt unless it's very obvious that it is that specific Hoya. There's a lot of gray area, especially when it comes to like acehs or clemensiorums. A lot of them kind of look the same, but also not. So I like to buy just based on if I like the Hoya in terms of appearance. I don't really care if it's the correct ID because I like the plant for what it is. Because if you're just buying Hoya just to have the name of the Hoya, then you're gonna feel pretty disappointed if you find out that that's not the Hoya that you bought. I am not gonna be sad even if this isn't an aceh because I love that leaf so much. So regardless of what it is, if it is an aceh or not, I just know I'm gonna love this plant regardless. That's my 2 cents anyway. Since we're on the aceh train, this is the 4th and final aceh I got. I am really loving this species right now at the moment. I will just go ahead and tell you what this one is named and not try to pronounce it because I know I am not gonna be able to pronounce this, but this is what this Hoya is called. It looks a lot like the others, don't get me wrong. However, I bought this one because the photos of it are wavy. Like the edges of the leaf are wavy, which I think is super unique to aceh. It does have the really beautiful veination, has a little bit of splash, and then again, that dark purple line going down the middle of the back of the leaf. Also, really have not seen this one sold very often at all. I just think it is a wonderful addition. And now I went from having 0 to 4 acehs, and I cannot be happier. Moving right along, this is a good old Hoya clemensiorum, or that is what it was sold to me as. This is the leaf in question right here. It is one of the darker clones of the clemensiorum, and I know I heard some talk that the clemensiorum might be reclassified under aceh, and I can honestly kind of see it because again, look at that purple vein going down the back leaf. They also look a lot alike too in terms of texture and appearance, but this one has a new vine that is growing currently. Did it root up? Maybe that's a new root. I can't really tell, but yeah, this is one of the darker ones. And I will say the clemensiorum is one that never really dropped that much in price. Like I remember they were going for around 80, and I think they might have dropped a little bit more. I got this one for 45, so I'm pretty happy paying that price. Maybe it's because they're not as good of growers. I'm not quite sure why they haven't dropped in price because they have been pretty popular. Moving on, this is a nap Hoya. So this is the nap 01. And I will not be surprised if this is also an aceh because it has that wonderful veination that's raised. This one is very, very apparent. You can really see it. The edges are a little bit wavy. It's really beautifully dark green, and it also has once more that purple line down the back of it. I love the texture of this one, and you can even see in the photo that the texture was just amazing and it did not disappoint in person. Another one that I'm excited to grow out to see if the leaves will continue. These other 2 leaves, you can kind of see it, but this one, you can totally see it more. All right, this is the Weinmannier Cloudy Sky. This is a lovely splashy version of this one. I'm so glad that I asked. I happened to see that the person that I purchased this is from Roots by Lou on Etsy, by the way, and she has great prices when it comes to Hoya. I highly recommend you to check out her shop because her prices are really on point. I got this one for $30, which I think is a very, very good price for these. I saw that she had some that were purchased already, so when I placed my order, I just asked her like, hey, do you happen to have any more of these? And she did. So glad that I asked that question. You can see a little new baby root growing. This one is just super pretty. The leaves are rigid. Never be afraid to ask if they have any more cuttings. That's a pro tip. Speaking of asking about more cuttings, this Hoya I saw on a purge and I didn't grab it up, and it just kept popping up in my head. If this is still happening, then I should just go ahead and see if she has any more cuttings. So I PM'd the seller and she did have another cutting. This is the Hoya Nong Nook. Oh, I'm so sad that the camera is not doing it justice because it is so beautiful. It has like a very deep, almost bluey green color, but then it has these splashes in it that are like minty, and then the veins are a very, very dark green. The texture is just outrageous. It is so smooth and fuzzy at the same time. The edges of it are ruffled. It has all of the good stuff. We're gonna go into the priciest Hoya that I bought out of the bunch. This is the sulawesiana variegated. She is a stunning Hoya. I love the ones that still have some green on them, and this one in particular has that splashing on top of that green. I love the hot pink that the leaves come in, and you can also see the hot pink on the backs as well. I think this plant is super stunning. I have heard that these are a little bit more tricky to grow, so fingers crossed that I'll do this plant justice. That is like what gets me when I do buy more pricey Hoyas, is I will put my money towards Hoyas that don't look exactly like all the other Hoyas. I just think this one in particular with the splash across it is so pretty. The leaves feel fine, so hopefully it'll adjust well to the repot. I couldn't pass it up. And the thing with this one, I did negotiate with the seller. I kind of saw that nobody decided to jump on it, and then I offered her a price that was about like $40 under the asking price, and I got it for that price. That is another nice thing about these groups, is you can go ahead and ask to pay a particular amount. Just make sure that you're nice about it and make sure that it's a fair offer. So glad that I ended up snagging this one. We have a Rick M. Hoya. This is the Swiffer's Treat. I really am in my texture Hoya era, and in terms of like the waviness, anytime a Hoya has these textury veins plus the waviness, I just can't. That is my current weakness in terms of Hoyas. This one is so stunningly beautiful. I really love the dark green to it. Really nice cutting. I don't think anything is happening in terms of growth points yet. I have not bought any of his Hoyas before, so I'm excited to see what this one will do. I mean, just based off of the prop leaves, this one is super pretty. This next Hoya, I am not gonna even pronounce. I'm just gonna put this name up here so I don't further embarrass myself when it comes to pronouncing Hoya names, but that is what this one is called. Another one that I've never heard of before, but I am a sucker for elongated leaves and good variegation. I had purchased it with these two nodes, and it started growing the top vine. So these are the first new leaves in my care, really pretty and pink, and then there's some baby leaves forming at the top. No new roots yet, but it is doing really well and continuing to grow after the repot. I don't really know too much about the growth pattern for this particular Hoya, so I'd be curious to see what the larger plants look like. It really reminds me of the Bella, just the leaves are a lot more long. Next up is the Hoya Tangamus. This is what mine looks like. These I find look not the same at all. They look very different depending on who you're getting it from. The seller that I got it from, I think this one is very, very pretty. It has a great veination splash, but then it also has a purple line down the back of it, if you can see that there. I don't know if it's related to aceh. I do like how the splash though is a green though. It's like a green on green splash. This is the new leaf that's coming in, and this one you can see the splash on it too. This is what I mean when just buy the Hoya for if you like the looks of the Hoya and not so much for the name, because it might be a Tangamus, it might not be a Tangamus, but just be happy in that you're getting the Hoya that you want in terms of the looks. the last Hoya that I have to show you that I repotted last week is the Hoya coriaceae silver. This is another very well-known Hoya. This is a thin-leafed Hoya, and in terms of thin leaves, this one is super thin, like very, very thin and papery. Very good grower in terms of roots. It's already rooted down here and rooted down here. It just says like screw all the substrate, I'm just gonna grow at the bottom. Love that. I don't see any growth points yet, but thank God it's rooted because these thin leaves do concern me. I think now is a pretty good time to buy these. These used to be like $100 plus. Now I think you can get one for $35, which is how much I paid for mine. And that concludes all of the Hoyas that I bought. I think there's around 40 of them, which is so insane. I think I can finally exhale and breathe and slow down because this is kind of what I do when in terms of Hoya. I will just be out of the game in terms of all the new Hoya coming out for so long, and then I'll like pop back in and be all like, oh my god, all of these new exciting Hoya, buy all of them up and then go under my rock again. The last time I bought this many Hoya, I think it was well over a year ago. I'm so happy and grateful to have them in my collection. I also at the end wanted to kind of talk about a few tips and tricks when it comes to buying Hoya to save yourself some of your hard-earned cash. The first tip that I have to talk about is to go on groups. Especially, I think those are the way to go when it comes to buying plants. When it comes to Etsy, I feel like there are some people that do have good prices, but I feel like as a whole, Etsy is a little bit on the pricier side. If you want to know where all the deals are at, I would go to your groups on Facebook. The US one is called US Hoya Market. Hopefully your country has its own group that you can explore. There are purges that you really need a fast internet connection to be able to take advantage of. There's deal or no deal. There are auctions. There's buy nows. And there's also ISO, which means in search of. So you can just type in the Hoya that you're trying to search and then they will come to you. Be sure to take everything with a grain of salt, seeing as these are just normal people with normal collections trying to sell them. So that's the first tip. And also on there, don't be afraid to ask people if they have more cuttings. Don't be afraid to give in a fair offer to a seller. You never know what will happen. And honestly, all of my interactions with people have been overwhelmingly positive on that group. I was just looking at a plant and I just realized I skipped over one. What the heck? Where is my mind at? Oh my god, I swear. This is like the first time I had to film a video twice, and I think I'm just like, my brain is starting to shut off now. This is one of the original Hoyas that started this huge Hoya purchasing spree. So this is a Hoya polynera inner variegated. She is a stunner for sure. The prices of this one have come down so much. I'm actually glad to be wrapping up on this one because this one also kind of hits every single point that I'm about to make. So this I got off of a group on Facebook, and it's funny because this is one of the first Hoyas I purchased, but I only received it like a month later. She ended up going on vacation and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Don't hurry to send it out. And so when 3 weeks went by, I kind of reached out and I was like, hey, are you gonna like send that Hoya? And she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, like here you are. And I got it like 4 weeks later. So I wouldn't say that's like a negative experience, but that just, you know, goes to show that if you just communicate on those groups, I feel like the vast majority of the people on there are super duper nice. Don't feel bad about talking and reaching out to people on there. They're really great. Tip number 2 that I have is to buy cuttings. If you're comfortable with buying cuttings, I think between buying cuttings compared to a rooted plant, in terms of a deal, you're gonna get the deal more so with the cutting because people are gonna tack on a bit more when it comes to time for rooting and all of that. I personally feel comfortable buying cuttings because I have a lot of experience trying to root out Hoyas. That does not scare me so much. So if you can buy cuttings, I would highly suggest to do so. It's really easy to root Hoya, guys. I mean, I've thought about making a video on how to root out Hoya, but I just feel like it's so self-explanatory. The roots come out all over the stem, and that's where you can save a couple of extra bucks for sure. And then the last tip that I have to save some money is just to wait it out. This is a prime example of trying to wait it out, because a year ago these were going for like a plant this size, probably like $1,000. I did not pay near $1,000 for this plant. Now one node cuttings are going for $35, so this one dropped significantly in price. So it's just good to wait it out, unless you know that Hoya is notoriously hard to grow. That is an indicator it might not drop in price, but polynera grow like a weed, so that's why I knew that it was going to drop in price. The answer to that is just to wait, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't have to have the newest and hottest plants just to feel good about my collection. I'm perfectly fine to wait, and it also feels so much more satisfying to get this plant that used to be so expensive at such a good deal. And that is my last tip, is just to have patience, because the prices will go down. That is how I was able to snag up this beauty right there. So let's just put her back. Man, I have spent probably 4 hours filming this video today. I am cooked. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Please tell me which Hoya I showed you was your favorite. I am so curious to know which one really struck your fancy. And also, if you have a Hoya that's a little bit too expensive right now that you're holding out for, let me know which one that you have your eye on. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.